Greg Kelly Show.
All right, just keeping my eye on what the Democrats are saying because I usually don't pay attention because I kind of know what they're saying anyway, and I tune in every now and then. But it's interesting. Mark Penn is a pollster, and he just said that he's the nominee. He's got the delegates. He's not going anywhere. I don't think anybody in power has the party to. Anybody in the party has the power to change that. Okay, that may be. That may be. That may be. But stranger things have happened. Not many, but some, I'm sure. I think what it may come down to is, the polling data, number one. And we just heard Mark say he's losing badly. And they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose. I think they're going to make it known to Joe Biden that they could make his post-presidency very, very difficult. You know, Hunter, you got some problems there, Hunter. How would you like to see them get 10 times worse? You know, half the country believes that Joe Biden's a corrupt politician. Would it really be that far of a stretch? And we're not talking about what he did as president. I'm talking about the stuff he did before president, as vice president, and especially the time between your vice presidency and your presidency, those 4 years. Those 4 years, while you were wheeling and dealing all over the place. You really want to run that risk? Maybe he does. I don't know. I feel it's not over yet, but more and more now I'm hearing these voices saying that he's going to stay there. He doesn't want to go, and he can't be talked into going. Maybe. Has he weathered the storm? In a way, I hope he has. I hope he has, because he's the guy we want to run against. Totally. He can't beat Trump in any legitimate election. And I do have my fears and concerns. It's amazing. You know, we caught him lying about Joe Biden. 3.5 years. He was a normal guy. Suddenly he's the most incompetent man in the world. Not to us, but to them. What else have they been lying about? What else could you not talk about? You know what they say? That Joe Biden, questions about Joe Biden's age? Russia disinformation. They actually say it's Russian disinformation. Go back. I found 1 million articles talking about Russian disinformation, that they have been feeding the narrative that Joe is too old for the job. Hey, you've heard of the Heritage Foundation. I like them. I like what they do. I got some friends telling me, they're a bunch of rhinos. Well, look, I don't think so. I actually think they're principled people. And they've been working on something called Project 2025. It's about, okay, once Trump is president, you know, what do we want to do then? And it's true. A lot of times that, the president has great vision and he knows what he wants to do. But what about how are you going to handle 3 million government employees? What are you going to do about them? There is so much resistance to the vision of the president. Republican presidents, Trump especially, resistance. They're at war with him. So he becomes president, and then what? Well, the Heritage Foundation has been thinking about that. And they're not working with or for Trump, but they're just doing some very interesting things about, like, how are we going to populate the government? Where are we going to get these people? And I think it's pretty reasonable. And actually, it needs to be done. Now, the head of the group, I forgot his name, but you're going to hear him in a moment. He's very, very sharp. I played some viral videos he's remarkably articulate, and he's in semi-hot water for saying something that I think he's entitled to say, and I say, and you can say. When you call for a revolution, you know, we don't mean sink ships. We don't mean burn down things, okay? It's one of the things about January 6th. Listen to this guy. You tell me, does this sound totally crazy? It's not, but go ahead, please, with the first clip from the Heritage guy.
Well, Professor, my great friend, thanks for filling in and doing a great job. 3 things. Number one, in spite of all this nonsense from the left, we are going to win. We're in the process of taking this country back. No one in the audience should be despairing. No one should be discouraged. We ought to be really encouraged by what happened yesterday. And in spite of all of the injustice, which, of course, friends and audience of this show, of our friend Steve know, we are going to prevail. Number two, to the point of the clips and of course, your preview of the fact that I am an early American historian and love the Constitution, that Supreme Court ruling yesterday on immunity is vital. And it's vital for a lot of reasons. but I would go to Federalist number 70 if people in the audience are looking for something to read over Independence Day weekend, in addition to rereading the Declaration of Independence. Read Hamilton's number 70, because there, along with some other essays, he talks about the importance of a vigorous executive. You know, former congressman, the importance of Congress doing its job, but we also know the importance of the executive being able to do his job. And can you imagine, Dave Bratt, any president, put politics off to the side, any president having to second guess, triple guess every decision they're making in their official capacity? You couldn't have the republic that you just described. But number three, let me speak about the radical left. You and I have both been parts of faculties and faculty senates and understand that the left has taken over our institutions. The reason that they are apoplectic right now, the reason that so many anchors on MSNBC, for example, are losing their minds daily, is because our side is winning. And so I come full circle in this response and just want to encourage you with some substance that we are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
Oh, my goodness gracious. What's the problem? I wouldn't have reacted unless the left has already reacted. You see this? It's a call for violence. Well, no, it's not, actually. It's a complaint that the left always resorts to violence. They did during Black Lives Matter summer. Oh, my God, that's totally harmless. Totally harmless. You know, we're allowed to talk about the American Revolution with reverence, okay? And revolution, yeah, we have that from time to time. You know, the Reagan Revolution. All right. That was a thing. They called it the Reagan Revolution. You can look it up. Every president has a revolution. There's even a Biden revolution. So he's not talking about violence. He is talking about maybe taking this country back for the people instead of a bunch of technocrats who we don't know, millions of them unelected. It's too damn big. It's too crazy. It's too out of control. And it's too, well, they're working for themselves, not for us. You know, I looked up over the 4th of July, you know, that's what you do, right? You're supposed to do it. And I did it. I actually looked at the Declaration of Independence. And when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another. Let's see here. It talks about whenever any form of government becomes destructive, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their security. Well, I like that stuff. And we're not talking about dissolving the Constitution. That man just there said he embraces the Constitution. He loves the Constitution. And everything, we're law-abiding. We want to follow the law. And we want to do things lawfully. Now, he talked about a government that is a the despotism. Well, that's what we have right now. I mean, have you ever looked at the omnibus spending bill and how many pages it is? I got one right here. It's 1,900 pages. Now, our representatives don't read that stuff. They don't. They don't read it. So how are we being represented? Who is reading that stuff? Who's putting that stuff in there? Staffers, corporations. You know, corporations actually write legislation sometimes. It's become unmanageable. It's become undemocratic. You know, I looked up a bunch of agencies also over the weekend. Agencies I've never even heard of. The National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Have you ever heard of that? I have not. They have a building that is the size of Mall of the Americas, the largest mall in America. That's what they've got going for them. Now, some of these things I know we need. I mean, yeah, okay, I want intelligence. We need satellites. We need all that stuff. But it's out of control. It's too big. It's unaccountable. And you can hear, I mean, listen to the venom, how they talk about us when we just want to make sure that this is still a democracy. Don't they say they like democracy, that it's still we the people? Listen to this. It's fascinating that she's the Republican on MSNBC. Her name is, what the hell's her name? Nicole Wallace. And she got her job in D.C. the way a lot of people get their job in D.C., but especially, forgive me, but there are a lot of women like her, somewhat attractive. They flatter the boss like crazy. Men often are not threatened by other men. They're not threatened by women as much as they are men. So they'll promote the hell out of the women. You know, they feel like they can be themselves. They can open up more around women. So some of them have benefited. Like this Nicole Wallace has my God. This is the woman who told us the Iraq war was justified. She was communications director under Trump. When she is out of her mind by with Project 2025. Go ahead with that, please, if you don't mind, Diego.
No, it's not a game, and this is not a drill. Project 2025 is their plan. It is serious. It's in writing. It's public. It is a chilling approach to running our federal government that got all the more chilling after the Supreme Court granted Donald Trump absolute immunity. It's the plan that Trump would implement on day one should he prevail in the November election and end up back in the Oval Office. That was actress Taraji P. Henson delivering that warning during Sunday's BET Awards to make sure that her audience and all Americans wake up about what is truly at stake.
Stop for a second. Taraji P. Henson, who's that? Cookie! Who remembers Empire when Empire was the hottest show in the world? That's Cookie. Cookie. I've actually met Cookie a couple of times. Does she really buy all this stuff? Has she really become that political? I wonder. Keep going.
A full-scale reimagining of our entire system of government and who runs it in Donald Trump's image and vision. The mission statement for Project 2025 is a plan assembled by the Heritage Foundation. Sounds like something you'd read on the ex-president's Truth Social feed, and there's no evidence to rebut that that's exactly where it came from. Quote, "It is not enough for conservatives to win elections. If we are going to rescue the country from the grip of the radical left, we need both a governing agenda and the right people in place, ready to carry this agenda out on day one of the next conservative administration." Axios has new reporting on what they describe. Stop for a second.
Is there anything wrong with that? No. I know she's breathless. The tone is all like trying to freak people out. It's totally fine. And what does Axios have to say? Keep going.
On what they describe as Trump's imperial presidency in waiting, writing this, quote, "Trump promises an unabashedly imperial presidency, one that would turn the Justice Department against critics, deport millions of people in the U.S. illegally, slap 10% tariffs on thousands of products, fire perhaps tens of thousands of government staff deemed insufficiently loyal. He'd stretch the powers of the presidency in ways not seen in our lifetime."
Stop for a second. All this stuff is fine. Oh, by the way, with the possible exception, because we wanted him to do it last time and he didn't do it. Now he might do it, just like Joe Biden is doing it, is having the DOJ investigate people that he believes are corrupt. Now, because there's actually a total rationale for that. You can actually do that. It's thoroughly constitutional. But the part that was really amazing there, tariffs, by the way, tariffs come and go. Tariffs come and go. The other thing is tens of thousands of people could be fired. So what? And they are supposed to be loyal. This is a democracy. Who are they loyal to now? The government. The government. That means they are loyal to themselves staying in power. You get it? It's totally fun. I like Project 2025. It is totally constitutional, totally legal, and good for the Heritage Foundation. I'll be right back.
Greg Kelly. This is the Greg Kelly Show.
What? They just gave the hook to Karine Jean-Pierre. The White House press secretary was speaking, and then the big boy, the adult, came in. John Kirby, the game showy looking guy who finally has purchased a tie manufactured in this century. Man, did that guy have and a decent suit. It used to look like, anyway, now they're talking national security stuff. There's going to be a great big NATO powwow, right? Have you ever heard anybody in your life ever bring up NATO? Has anybody ever told you, hey, I'm really worried about the alliance right now? What is even, I would like to get some of these fake news types to tell me, what does NATO even stand for? What does NATO stand for? Ooh, that would be good. I could also ask them, by the way, it stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Phew. North Atlantic Treaty Organization. I could ask them, can you name, I don't know, 10 member states? Huh? Can you? I think I can name every single one. Came up with that. Yeah, I can. Oh, shoot. Do I want to do it right now? Canada, Italy, Iceland, Luxembourg. I don't want to do it anymore. Germany. I could do it, but it would take a while. I definitely can name 10. I can name more than half. That's more than anybody in the fake news. Look, NATO's fine. We need NATO. Good. Shut up about it already and pay your damn dues. You know, I got video of Donald Trump going to every single NATO conference. He went. He kicked a little ass. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, you guys, pay your fair share. It was great. Hey, the other thing, Joe Biden lying like crazy. Where are the fact checkers on that debate? You know, we were all kind of blown away by just his mumbling and the doddering fool. We forgot to fact check him. Well, the fact checkers, really, I mean, that's what they do. He said a lot of things that were totally untrue. And he also, in the George Stephanopoulos thing, he said something. He said, I couldn't focus because Donald Trump was screaming the whole time. Well, we actually have the proof that he wasn't. Actually, Donald Trump was Sphinx-like. Remember how his face was? It was Sphinx-like. He didn't interrupt him once. And we could see him the entire time. He was under surveillance because of these silly rules that you guys came up with. Anyway, that's fun. That's fun. This is the other here's Adam Schiff. I don't like Adam Schiff, but he's considered a heavyweight Democrat, even though he's got a small neck. It's not so much the minor Democrats who are coming out against Joe saying he has to leave. It's guys like Adam Schiff saying maybe the choice is Joe's. Cut 4, please. Cut 4.
The performance on the debate stage, I think, rightfully raised questions among the American people about whether the president has the vigor to defeat Donald Trump.
All right. You see right there that he is on the fence is like the next thing to saying he's definitely got to go.
You're listening to The Greg Kelly Show.
So the regular press secretary, the girl, she can't handle this kind of high-level lying. She's really bad at it. I mean, she lies all the time, but you need somebody who's a good liar. She's really clumsy at it. And this is Kirby, the game show host, White House security press secretary. Go ahead.
What I can tell you is what I saw in that debate is not reflective of the man and the leader and the commander-in-chief that I have spent many, many hours with over the last 2.5 years in terms of the specificity of the way he probes, the questions he asks. Heck, just this morning, he was asking me questions about the situation on the European continent that I couldn't answer, and I told him I had to get back to him.
When he met with governors last week, he suggested he'd like to curtail events that begin after 8 p.m. at night, just because he'd rather focus on resting and doesn't want to have a long day. In your understanding of things, has the National Security Council ever withheld information from him he should have known late at night out of concern he might not be able to process it?
No.
Russia has bombed Ukraine's largest children's hospital, as you noted. Do you believe the timing of these strikes is meant to send a message to NATO ahead of this week's summit?
It's hard to draw a line to that.
Stop. All right, so how's he backing up Biden right now? Biden asked me a question that I couldn't answer, denying what the whole world knows that they have. Everybody's been reacquainted. The public has been acquainted with Joe Biden's failing. That changes the equation. It does, in big ways, small ways, huge ways, tectonic ways. Everything's different right now. Business as usual. What else? He just said, no, we don't ever. Well, that's wrong. There are definitely occasions where they don't wake the president of the United States up. That happens with every administration. They have a little debate. Do we wake him up now, or do we wait until the morning? That happens all the time. Is it significant enough to wake him up? Oh, I have this. I do want to play everybody. Again, if you're going to play the fact-checking game, you got to play it on both sides. Now, there's a lot of reasons to not do the fact-checking game. All right, because facts these days, it really is. I know this sounds terrible, but there is such a thing as alternative facts. And there is, it's not the fact. It's, do you include it or not? What kind of significance do you give it? What do you say about that fact? But then again, who determines what a fact is, right? Everything seems to be in dispute, and that's okay. The last thing in the world we need is the Department of Homeland Security telling us what's true and what's not true, as they want to do under Joe Biden. All right, so this is the one of the George Stephanopoulos moments from Friday night. Go ahead.
And so I just had a bad night. I don't know why.
And how quickly did it come to you that you were having that bad night?
Well, it came to me as having a bad night when I realized that even when I was answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting. And I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that. But I realized that I just wasn't in control.
Well, man, when you lie all the time, it's second nature. How dare this guy call Donald Trump a liar? How dare he? That's a lie. We all saw it. Donald Trump was notably Sphinx-like. He had that great big, it worked. It was like a frown, though. He often appears kind of frowning, stern, right? And we had that split screen up the entire time. We knew when he was talking, when he wasn't talking. It's wild. It just is automatic. I told you that Hunter is now sitting in on all these meetings. I guess Mark Halpern tried to say, and I agree. I guess in a crisis, you have your family around, and he's around. But boy, oh boy, you really are in trouble if you're relying on that guy for advice. Eddie, hello, yes?
Yeah, that's Greg. How are you? Thanks for taking my call. Waiting here. Well, what you just said about Hunter, they were business partners, so why shouldn't Hunter be in on it, right? But what you're talking about, Joe, before possibly, I was consulting with my neurologist at a picnic. We're sitting talking, and he said, when you have an open skull operation, like Joe Biden did, well, we're talking about a possible syndrome.
Hey, wait, let me ask you something. Wait, you have your own personal neurologist that you socialize with?
Yeah, he's also a brother in my lodge, so it was a lodge picnic.
What kind of a lodge? What, the Elks? Wow, that old school. That's kind of cool. I know all about this thing with the brain. He had those two brain situations. He had brain surgery, at least one, I think two, all the way back in the 1980s. And the neurosurgeons, you should ask your lodge buddy about this. There's an old saying, when the air hits your brain, you're never the same. A neurologist even wrote a book about that. When the air hits your brain, you're never the same. And back then, it's almost 40 years ago. I mean, they had to, now they can do it. It's like they go through the nose with a little tiny wire and they can operate on your brain. Back then, they had to saw open your skull and go to work on the meat of your brain. And that messed things up big time. And it did for Joe as well. Thank you, Eddie. Real quick, though, what kind of lodge is that?
It's a Masonic lodge. But when the air hits your brain, it's never the same. I heard that. But, now they do laparoscopic things.
I know. I mentioned that. That's what I meant by the so you're a Mason. What's that all about anyway?
Well, I'm also a Dale Carnegie instructor, and you know about that.
What do you guys do in the Masons? What do you guys do?
You would be surprised about Masonry that it's all based on the Bible. It's where you take your oath, you receive a Bible. When you're raised through the degrees, getting a third degree, they talk about the police department. Well, that started with Masonry as the third degree. Different steps you take in learning, and it's all based on the Bible, Greg. And when people say it's evil, they just don't know how good it was. George Washington was a Mason.
I never said it was evil. Hey, look, the more you talk about it, the more I'm intrigued. How would you go about joining the Masons? Do you have to wait for a Mason to tap you on the shoulder or something like that and say it's you?
They say to be one, ask one, but I could bring you into our lodge, which is the historic Oyster Bay Lodge.
It's too far away. I'm in the city.
No. Oh, plenty of places in the city also. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't even know any Masons. You're the only Mason I know.
Well, you're the only talk show host I know, and you're just a regular guy with a lot of talent, I think, You're a good man.
Oh.
That's what they need, Masons in the country, and we need your broadcasting.
Well, thank you. I'm intrigued, though. I am intrigued, and I commend you, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, talking about stuff, the Bible. It sounds very interesting to me. I don't know if I have much time, but thank you, Eddie. I'm going to check it out. Any Masons work here? Do we know? The Simpsons had a really funny episode about the Masons, although it wasn't really the Masons. Eddie, thank you. I would like to know more. Let's do Jay in Westchester. Hi.
Yeah, hi, Greg. How you doing? Listen, Greg, I'm really alarmed about these Chinese encounters we're having at the border. I'm really nervous about, there's three things that came up recently. One is they uncovered a lab in Reedley, California, making a stronger type of COVID. Number two, found out that 19 pieces of farmland are owned by China, and they happen to be right next to our Air Force installation.
Yeah.
And the last one is Chinese military-age males have been seen taking target practice using sniper rifles at some of these shooting ranges. Any comments?
Well, number one, did you say they caught them making a new breed of COVID in some lab in Wrigley, California? Is that what you said?
Yes, something about.
I don't know anything about that. Where did you get that?
Oh, well, I just got that on the news. It was Fox News, and the last one about them
that they were making a new breed of COVID, a new strain of COVID in California. A bunch of Chinese illegal migrants. Is that the story?
No. No, they uncovered a lab, an illegal lab, quite by mistake. Okay, it was a code enforcement officer happened to stumble upon this hose, and the hose led into this back, and they found this lab that was there.
And what were they making in the lab?
They were making these viruses. They were
come on! I haven't. That would be a bigger story if they were making viruses in the lab. Let me check it out. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll see you later. Yeah, look, Gordon Chang has been very, very concerned about these Chinese military men coming here illegally, south of the border, coming from China, not citizens. It's crazy. And you see him showing up, taking target practice. That seems, rather questionable. It all does. No border. What kind of demonic maniac would allow this to happen? A demonic maniac like Joe Biden. And quite frankly, he sounded a little demonic. Let's face it. This morning on the Morning Joe show, here he is trying to convince everybody that he's got it all going on mentally. And believe it or not, this actually convinced certain Democrats that he does have it all going on. To me, this is worse than anything he said at the debate. Cut 15, please. Cut 15.
The American public is not going to move away from me as an average voter. And again, I'm here for two reasons, pal. One, to rebuild the economy for hardworking middle-class people, give everybody a shot, just a straight shot. Everybody gets a fair chance, number one. Number two, remember all this talk about how I don't have the black support? Come on, give me a break. Come with me. Watch.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting so frustrated by the elites. No, I'm not talking about you guys, but about the elite.
Oh, yeah, not talking about Mika Brzezinski, who just goes over to Dubai for her girl power conferences. Nothing elite about that. I got to go back to the White House. It's heating up again with this Kirby dude. They're asking questions about the debate and Joe's horrific performance and what kind of message that's sending. Go ahead.
Is to be an advisor and counselor, and I don't think it's appropriate for a spokesman to. I did because I wanted to make it clear. So, yes, I'm uncomfortable with these kinds of questions, but to answer your specific question, in my experience, the last 2.5 years, I have not seen any reason whatsoever to question or doubt his lucidity, his grasp of context, his probing nature, and the degree to which he is completely in charge of facts and figures. And if he isn't,
his probing nature, is that the code for feeling up women? Sorry, keep going.
I can't be in command of those facts and figures. I have to fess up and go get the information that he's asking for. And he asked me some questions this morning I didn't have answers for.
Okay, Nadia. Thank you, Karine. 2 questions.
The presidency is a bit more than stump the spokesman, don't you think? Right? Oh, he stumped the spokesman 4 more years. Turn it back up.
Solution. So why the White House has been not mum on that, and will the president?
It's not that we've been mum. There was a statement put out by the State Department.
I don't know what they're talking about now.
This call for settlements. We continue. Nothing's changed about our view that settlements continue to be counterproductive to peace and stability, and the
keep playing footsie with Hamas. Keep playing footsie with the Jew haters. Keep playing that game. You know, with all this talk about the debate, I forgot about some of the other things that make me despise this administration and despise this president, right? I mean, let's face it, it was almost fun with the debate. Forget about everything else. Gosh, the danger that is posed by his very presence. This can't come soon enough, the election, all right? Can't come soon enough. We got to pray. We got to pray. He's the president for now until he steps down or is voted out. That's the way it's going to be. That's the way it's going to be. And it doesn't, if only he had some integrity, right? Be right back.
Greg Kelly. This is the Greg Kelly Show.
President Trump was once again a no-show at the White House Correspondents' Dinner in Washington tonight. Instead, the president opted for a friendlier crowd at a rally in Washington, Michigan, a state he won in the last election.
I was invited to another event tonight, the White House Correspondents' Dinner. But I'd much rather be in Washington, Michigan than in Washington, D.C. right now. That I can tell you.
The glitzy event, a who's who of politicians and celebrities, was hosted by comedian Michelle Wolf, who says she wished the president was there. This is the second year in a row President Trump has not attended.
And they hated him for it. In addition to everything else they hated. Michelle Wolf, that was a comedian's name. She was the most vulgar person. Vulgar. A word you don't hear anymore, by the way, vulgar. If everything's vulgar, nothing is vulgar, right? Not that I'm a prude, not that I'm, but there are things that should be considered vulgar that aren't, that just we do now, we accept. And that's wrong. It's it's a backward society, a decaying, dying society. I'm going through old articles here from 2020, 2021, 2022 even. It says that questions about Joe having dementia or having a cognitive decline, guess what? Guess who was responsible according to the fake news? Russia. Yes, Russia. Russia was pushing those fake narratives. So if you had questions, you were just pushing Russia propaganda. They actually said this about us. They said this. And we have to remember one of the heroes out there, Congressman Ronnie Jackson. Very early on, actually every year for the past 4 years, he's sent an official letter to the White House on his congressional stationery asking questions about Joe Biden's cognitive health, requesting that he take a cognitive test. This is a doctor. This is a physician. This is a person who's been, Ronnie Jackson, Republican of Texas. He was the doctor to Obama. I think he was the doctor to Bush for a little while as well, an admiral in the Navy. And guess what? He raised these questions. He raised these questions about Biden, and he's a congressman now, and he's kind of just talking a little bit of smack about him. That's okay to do. Guess who got on his case? Guess one day he logs onto his computer. There's an email from Barack Obama. Dear Ronnie, very disappointed. I'll work on that. Jason Scoop could do it, but Obama said he was disappointed. You shouldn't have done that. That was a cheap shot. How could you do this? I consider you a friend. No longer. You're taking shot. Now, why would, of all the things that are being said about the president of the United States, this is the thing he responds to personally, because it gets very close to home here. Very close to home, literally. Barack Obama's in Washington, D.C. We believe running a shadow government. And that is so thoroughly un-American. Yes. Barbara's with us. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Greg. In reference to what you're saying right now, it goes back to something you said earlier when you're talking about you believe that Obama is running a shadow government. Earlier in the show, you had mentioned, who is it who rules us? Who is it, by the way, who writes these voluminous omnibus spending bills? And James Madison had something to say about that. He talked about the danger, the calamitous danger of a government that will change its laws and its policies to support its friends. He said the internal effects of this policy are calamitous. It poisons the blessings of liberty itself. It will be of little avail to the people that the laws are made by men of their own choice if the laws be so voluminous that they cannot be read, or so incoherent that they cannot be understood, that no man who knows what the law is today can guess what it will be tomorrow.
Man, he was smart. Good stuff.
James Madison, he was right on with that, and you were echoing him exactly. It's amazing what these men knew from their study of their past, from the study of their forefathers and the governments and the tyrannies that they endured. And they brought them all to bear on our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. We are so blessed.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Barbara, we thank you. We thank you so much. Keep it up. Keep it up. I'm looking at this. An illicit Chinese-owned lab fueled theories. Officials say it posed no danger. Jeslyn Harper, the only full-time code enforcement officer for the small agricultural city of Ridley, California, was responding to a complaint about vehicles parked at a loading dock, smelled a foul odor, and saw a garden hose snaking in. A woman in a lab coat was walking around. Okay, the woman said the owner lived in China, provided the phone number and an email address. The discovery last December launched investigations by federal, state, and local authorities, who found no criminal activity at the medical lab owned by Prestige Biotech Incorporated, a company registered in Las Vegas, and no evidence of a threat to public health or national security. Nonetheless, it was just the beginning of a case that this summer fueled fears about China purportedly trying to engineer biological weapons in rural America. During a March inspection of the lab, a city of 25,000 people, they found refrigerators including E. coli, coronavirus, malaria, hepatitis B, herpes, rubella, and HIV. But the Federal Centers for Disease Control, let me guess, said there's no problem here? Said there was no sign that the lab was illegally in possession of the materials or had select agents or toxins that could be used as bioweapons. CDC has taken no further action in this matter. After company representatives stopped communicating with city and county officials, they got a court order to shut down the operation, euthanize the mice. They had a bunch of test mice and cleaned the biological materials. Officials thought that would be the end of it. Then on July 25th, the Mid-Valley Times, a local online news outlet, published a story about the lab. She stated that the mice were bred and then, what the hell? I do remember there's a murmur of this thing. Kevin McCarthy, he actually represented the district, said during a visit to a nearby town that he plans to raise concerns, the very disturbing case of the collie. Hey, man, thanks for reminding us, man, so much going on. I will see you soon. Many thanks, everybody.
This is Greg Kelly for Priority Gold. What does it mean to be America's precious metals dealer? It means that you're in touch with the hearts and minds of those who love this country, value our freedom, and want to protect the future. Priority Gold is that precious metals dealer. They've helped thousands of Americans back their retirement with solid gold and silver. Call Priority Gold at 888-506-6439. Receive free shipping, free storage, a free investment guide, and one of the best purchase experiences in the industry. Call now or go to PriorityGold.com.